Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, thank you for being here this morning and responding to our questions. I want to follow on a couple that have been asked with regards to the Department of Justice's state and local law enforcement programs. $1.2 billion in proposed cuts. We're looking at it very carefully because many of these grants and programs have significant impact on our state, small population, large area to deal with. The budget also calls for consolidation of the Office of Violence Against Women, the Community-Oriented Policing Services, and the OJP programs. Is the Office of Tribal Justice one of the offices that are also intended to be consolidated?
No, we're just consolidating the grant component, so OJP, COPS, and then OVD. And by the way, we're not combining them. We're just making them more efficient. So they will still maintain their own independence and brand, for lack of a better word. But what we heard from the field is that there were inappropriate inconsistencies and inefficiencies in having three separate kind of bureaucracies running each of those programs, so that's what we're trying to fix.
Don't disagree with wanting to reduce bureaucracies. My interest is making sure that the fidelity of these grants and the availability to very rural and oftentimes just very high cost because of what we're dealing with out there, that they do not get overlooked, because when you have cuts to the level that you're proposing, one has to assume that, okay, you can talk about reducing the bureaucracy and just what the program itself might look like. But again, my interest is making sure that this much-needed assistance is still pushed down to the very, very local levels.
Senator, I assure you that the rural communities, and I appreciate that they have the most challenges applying for grants because of just the way they're structured.
Lack of capacity.
Of course, and there's obviously, I forget the exact percentage, but a large percentage of our grants do go to rural communities, as they should, and rural police departments, as they should. And we are going to continue to do that. I mean, the COPS office is required to distribute half of the grants to rural communities. Right. But just, and I don't want to take up all your time, Senator, but that's one of the reasons why we're trying to make it more efficient, because the field said, especially rural communities, big cities don't have issues applying for grants. They have a bunch of people that can do it. And so, yes, we are very focused on that in tribal justice space, but also in the grant space.
Well, know that we're watching this one very carefully. I understand that in response to Senator Collins, you acknowledged 25% cut to the Office on Violence Against Women. I was very involved in that reauthorization, and within that, we provide that OVW may not be subsumed by another grant-making component within DOJ. So we want to make sure that, again, DOJ is going to maintain OVW's statutory responsibilities and how they move forward with their grant-making, and not losing out on that subject.
We will, and we're aware of that. Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask about the Not Invisible Act. This was legislation that I introduced some years ago. It became law. May 5th is the day that we recognize as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day. We had a big roundtable that Senator Sullivan helped to organize just a couple weeks ago. I had a lot of the folks from your department, along with Alaska state and local, as well as tribal. One of the things that kept coming up was the commission issued its final report. I thought it was pretty substantive. They issued it November 1 of 2023 after great testimony and consultation all across Indian country. But then it was removed, the report was removed very early on in the second Trump administration, and the related materials have been removed from DOJ and the Department of Interior websites. So people keep asking me, where'd it go, why, what is happening? And we tried to get further information to that, again, up in Anchorage a couple weeks ago. So the question to you is, why was the report taken down? When will it be restored? And more importantly, what concrete steps is DOJ taking with the Department of Others and others to implement the recommendations? We don't want the work of this really important commission to just kind of sit and be ignored.
Yes, so I don't have an answer as to why it was taken down, but I will get back to you promptly. I will tell
I
you.
would appreciate that, yeah.
And your big picture question, we are on the same page when it comes to tribal justice and the work that we have to do with our Native American community and making sure that we're giving them the resources, the law enforcement. I've visited two so far as the Deputy Attorney General. My staff has gone out to multiples, to northern New York, the Dakotas, Oklahoma, and we'll continue to do that. I think that at the end of the day, it is a funding and training issue that is our responsibility, and I recognize that, and it's a priority.
Well, and we've seen positive signals in the first Trump administration. That was when Operation Lady Justice was stood up. I think that is good. We need to continue on that. You've put good people tasked to this, but this is where it gets confusing, because when you have a public-facing website that helps people navigate through some of the reporting and the lack of data, that's where we could use a little help. So if you can get back with me on that, I would appreciate it.
I will, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What you just watched is what a prepared senator looks like when she is not performing outrage and does not need to. She came with three things: a statutory provision she helped write, a report that disappeared from government websites, and a question she had been trying to get answered for weeks before she arrived in this hearing room. She did not raise her voice. She did not use the word weaponization. She did not accuse anyone of bad faith. She asked where a report went, why it went there, and when it is coming back. The acting Attorney General of the United States told her he does not have an answer as to why it was taken down, but he will get back to her promptly. That sentence is now in the permanent record of this hearing, and the distance between what she asked and what he said is worth examining carefully. Start with the context she established before reaching the report. The senator who represents Alaska, a state with a large rural population, a large Native American community, and some of the most challenging geography in the country for law enforcement access, opened with a specific concern about the $1.2 billion in proposed cuts to state and local law enforcement programs. She named the consolidation of three offices: the Office on Violence Against Women, the Community-Oriented Policing Services Office, and the Office of Justice Programs. She asked a specific question before the larger one. Is the Office of Tribal Justice one of the offices intended to be consolidated? Blanche said no, they are consolidating grant components only, not the offices themselves. He said the offices will maintain their own independence and brand. He said what they heard from the field was that there were inconsistencies and inefficiencies in having three separate bureaucracies running those programs, and that the consolidation is designed to fix that, not to reduce the programs themselves. The senator's response to that answer was measured and precise. She said she shares the interest in reducing bureaucracy, but her interest is in making sure the fidelity of the grants, the actual dollars reaching the actual communities, is not compromised by the consolidation. She named the specific challenge: rural communities lack the administrative capacity that large cities have to apply for grants. She used the word capacity. Blanche used the same word back. That alignment is in the transcript. Blanche committed to the rural focus. He cited the COPS office statutory requirement that half of its grants go to rural communities. He said the consolidation is actually designed in part to address the grant application burden on rural communities, that the field told them rural departments struggle with applications precisely because of how they are structured. He said they are very focused on that in the tribal justice space and in the grant space generally. That is a real answer to a real concern. And the senator acknowledged it. She said she sees positive signals and that good people have been tasked to the work. But she also said she is watching this carefully, and she named the statutory protection she helped write into the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization, that OVW may not be subsumed by another grant-making component within DOJ. She was not asking whether the administration intends to honor that provision. She was stating it on the record so that if the consolidation ever crosses that line, the record will show that she named the statute and Blanche confirmed the department is aware of it. That is the move of someone who understands that a hearing is not just a conversation. It is a document. Then she moved to the Not Invisible Act. She introduced the legislation. She named the date it became law. She named May 5th as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day. She described a roundtable organized by Senator Sullivan 2 weeks prior, with members of the department present alongside state, local, and tribal representatives. She said one thing kept coming up. The commission issued its final report on November 1st, 2023. The report was substantive. It was the product of extensive testimony and consultation across Indian country. Then early in the second Trump administration, the report was removed from DOJ and Department of Interior websites. The related materials were removed. People keep asking her where it went and why. She says she tried to get answers in Anchorage 2 weeks ago. She could not get them. She is asking now in a sworn congressional hearing with the acting attorney general across the table from her. Why was the report taken down? When will it be restored? What concrete steps is DOJ taking to implement its recommendations? Blanche said he does not have an answer as to why it was taken down. He said he will get back to her promptly. He said on the big picture question, they are on the same page when it comes to tribal justice. He said he has visited 2 tribal communities himself as Deputy Attorney General. He said his staff has traveled to northern New York, the Dakotas, Oklahoma. He said it is a funding and training issue that is their responsibility and a priority. Read that answer carefully. He confirmed he does not know why the report was removed. He committed to getting back to her. He described site visits and field engagement. He said the issue is a priority. None of those things answer the 3 questions she asked. Why was the report taken down? When will it be restored? What concrete steps are being taken to implement its recommendations? The site visits are not an answer to why the report disappeared. The field engagement is not an answer to when the report will return. Calling it a priority is not the same as naming the steps being taken to implement the recommendations the Commission spent 2 years developing. Those are 3 separate questions. None of them received a specific answer. One of them, the why, received an explicit acknowledgement that no answer currently exists. 2 things can be true at the same time. A new administration reviewing and restructuring the public-facing digital presence of multiple agencies may remove documents from websites for reasons that are procedural rather than substantive, pending review, pending reposting, pending policy alignment, and the absence of an immediate explanation does not establish that the removal was politically motivated or that the underlying work has been abandoned. Blanche's commitment to get back to her promptly is a real commitment made under oath in a congressional hearing, and his description of site visits and field engagement reflects genuine institutional activity in the tribal justice space, even if the website content has not been restored. The senator herself acknowledged positive signals from the first Trump administration, including Operation Lady Justice, which she said needs to continue. Both of those are reasonable positions. What the senator was asking, however, was not whether the department values tribal justice in the abstract. She was asking about a specific document produced by a specific commission she helped create that was available on government websites and is now not. She was asking why. She was asking when it returns. She was asking what is being done with the recommendations it contains. So here is where this exchange leaves us, and it is genuinely two-sided. Was the senator conducting careful, targeted oversight, extracting a sworn commitment on OVW's statutory independence, placing the missing commission report on the official congressional record, and building a paper trail that makes any future failure to restore it harder to execute without consequences? Or was she framing a routine administrative gap as an institutional failure before the department has had the chance to respond? Is Blanche acknowledging a genuine knowledge gap on a specific website decision while accurately describing a department actively engaged on tribal justice at the field level? Or was he covering the absence of a substantive answer with a description of activity that does not address the specific question, leaving a commission's 2 years of work in unexplained limbo? 2 different stories. Same hearing, same official record. Tell me in the comments which version you walked away believing. If you stayed this long, subscribe. The report is still not on the website, the follow-up has not arrived, the record is watching both,